Today we're going to study the Moses Spring. Where is this Moses Spring located? What are the significant events that happened in Moses Spring? Moses Spring, located in Madaba Governorate, Jordan, is one of the two possible locations for the site where Moses supposedly struck the rock with his staff and the water gushed forth to the thirsty Israelites. And the other possible site is near Mount Nebo. The spring still flows but is now housed within a simple modern three-domed building, occasionally visited by local pilgrims. This site is located near Kingsway Hotel at the main junction into Wadi Musa from the north of Jordan. Wadi Musa means Valley of Moses in Arabic. It is a town located in Man Governorate in southern Jordan. It is the administrative center of Petra Department and the nearest town to the archaeological site Petra. Wadi Musa is said that Moses passed through the valley and struck the water from the rock for his followers at the site of Ain Musa, Moses Spring. The Nabateans built channels that carried water from this spring to the city of Petra. Wadi Musa was also nicknamed Guardian of Petra. The tomb of Aaron, the brother of Moses, is on a nearby Jebel Harun, a strong candidate for biblical Mount Hor. But before we understand Moses Spring, we have to understand the biblical context of this place. It was taken from Exodus 17 and Numbers. The first, it's called Massah or Meribah, located in Rephidim. Meribah or Mirabah are all places found in Hebrew Bible. Meribah was one of the sites that Israelites passed through in their desert wanderings or 40 years of wandering. And being in a place of testing for Israelites, it is also had a major impact in the lives of Moses and Aaron. The Israelites are said to have traveled to Massah and Meribah during Exodus wanderings. According to the book of Exodus, Meribah or Massah was located in Rephidim in the wilderness of Sin, S-I-N. While according to the book of Numbers, Meribah was located in Kadesh Barnea in the wilderness of Zin, Z-I-O-N, on the north. However, textual scholars attribute the difference to the different sources from which these passages derive and regard both mentions of Meribah as referring to the same place. The Septuagint, the Targums, and the Vulgate deal with the issue by regarding the Meribah in the book of Numbers as simply being common noun, rather than a place name rendering Me or Meribah Kadesh as the waters of strife in Kadesh, rather than as the waters of Meribah in Kadesh. This is based on the Baker Encyclopedia of the Bible. One of the sites, called Meribah, was located again in Meribim in Dessert Zin, S-I-N. And our text is found in Exodus 17. The whole Israelite community set out from the Desert Zin, traveling from the place to the place the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for people to drink. So the people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." In verse 7, and he called the place Massah and Meribah because the Israelites quarreled, because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" That's in Exodus 17. At this location, it was also called Massah, which differentiates it from the other Meribah mentioned in Deuteronomy 9 and Psalm 95. Deuteronomy 6, do not put the Lord your God to test, as you did in Massah. And chapter 9, verse 22, you also make the Lord angry at Taberah, at Massah, at Kibroth, Hatava. Furthermore, before we're going to go to the other place, Meribah, we have to understand the context. That during the final phase of Israel's journey to the promised land, the Israelites camped in Moab, which is now Jordan, near the Mount Nebo, which is also part Jordan. God called Moses to climb to the top of Mount Nebo. Deuteronomy 32 records, on that same day, the Lord told Moses, go up into the Abarim range to Mount Nebo in Moab, across from Jericho, and view Canaan, the land I am giving to Israelites, as their own possession. Verse 50. There on the mountain you have climbed, you will die. Imagine that. And be gathered to your people just as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his people. The reason, verse 51, this is because both you, Moses, both you broke faith with me in the presence of Israelites in the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the desert of Zin, Z-I-N. And because you did not uphold my holiness among the Israelites, therefore you will see the land only from a distance, but you will not enter the land I am giving you to the people of Israel. Moses saw the land from the top of Mount Nebo. He saw the promised land but wasn't able to enter the land. Why? Because of his sin of disobedience and not upholding the Lord's holiness. Now, this other site, Meribah, not only located in Rephidim in Dessert Zin, S-I-N, in Exodus 17, the second Meribah was located in Kadesh Barnea, which is recorded in Numbers 27, verse 14. For when the community rebelled at the waters in the desert of Zin, Z-I-N, both of you disobeyed my command, referring to Moses and Aaron, to honor me as holy before their eyes. These were the waters of Meribah Kadesh in desert Zin. Central to two locations, Meribah Massah, right? Whether it's in Rephidin or in Kadesh Barnea, is a miracle of water coming from the rock. At Meribah Massah, the Israelites were extremely thirsty, and because of that, they quarreled Moses for lack of water, Exodus 17:2. And because of their thirst, they grumbled. Not only they quarreled, they grumbled against Moses and blamed Moses by saying, why did you bring us up out of Egypt to make us and our children and our livestock die of thirst? Exodus 17:3. Moses brought this problem to the Lord, and the Lord enabled Moses to strike the rock so that the Israelites would have water and know that God was with them. Because of their grumbling and testing of God, Moses called the place Meribah. Didn't you know that the name Meribah means quarreling and the name Massah means testing, according to Bible Knowledge Commentary of the Old Testament by John Walvoord and Roy Zuck? Not only did the Israelites demonstrate lack of trust or doubt in God's provision, but they also tested God by complaining, by distrusting, by quarreling. So now, Moses Spring has a wonderful insight that we could glean on, right? Remember in chapter 20 of verse 2, this is the context where there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses at Meribah Kadesh, and they quarreled with Moses. Remember that a couple of days back, or years back, Moses led them from slavery, 400 years of slavery in Egypt, walking on the dry ground of the Red Sea and seeing the chariots of Pharaoh running after them, drowned in water. And now, because of that, here they are blaming Moses for no water, right? They quarreled and they are blaming, complaining, why did you bring us up out of Egypt? It has no grains or figs and grapevines. So, these are the reactions of complaining, quarreling, distrusting, testing, and doubting God. And you and I have experience about it. So that from this study of Moses' praying, disobedience, distrusting, disappointment, doubts, and unbelief have enduring consequences that can affect the rest of our lives. May I repeat that? Disobedience, distrust, doubt, and unbelief have an enduring consequences that can affect the rest of our lives, just like Moses and Aaron. We know that toward the end of the Israelites' 40 years of wandering, Meribah, the, the thing that happened to the Israelites of Meribah Kadesh, that they were complaining, they were expressing their pain, and they were expressing their discontent, their displeasure, their annoyance, their resentment, their displeasure because of the lack of water for themselves, for their livestock. And as such, complaining leads to opposing their leaders, Moses and Aaron. And that's why it's recorded in Numbers chapter 20. The blaming game again. And so we can relate to this, that you and I are also guilty of complaining, moaning, expressing discontent and resentment and displeasure and dissatisfaction. And that is why even in the church today, or even in the family, they fight, expressing their pain, discontent, resentment, displeasure, dissatisfaction, and annoyance. Just like the Israelites. Again, the Lord specifically instructed Moses, okay, I heard their cry. Now you gather all the people, take your staff, gather all the people, and speak to that rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water. That was a clear instruction. Take your staff, you and your brother Aaron, gather the assembly, and speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will pour water. Yeah, they gathered the people, he took the rock, but Moses disobeyed by giving a rash words or harsh words by saying, listen, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock? Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with its staff. It's not in the instruction of God. And still, Yahweh kept his promise. Water gushed out in the community and their livestock drink. So let me close in these beautiful verses that is worthy of remembrance. That whenever we hear Moses praying, it's connected to Meribah or Massah, the quarreling and the testing, that God still kept his promise in providing water despite the failure of Aaron and Moses. God still kept his promise in providing water despite failure to obey God. In Numbers 20, verse 12, because you did not trust me enough to honor us, me as holy in the sight of holy, you will not bring this community into the land I give you. That was the first generation Israelites who came out of Egypt. They were not able to enter the promised land. Who entered the promised land? The second generation without Moses, without Aaron, under the leadership of Joshua. In Psalm 81, verse 7, in your distress you called, and I rescued. In your distress you called, and I answered you out of thunder cloud. God kept his promise. Psalm 106, by the waters of Meribah, you angered the Lord, and trouble came to Moses because of them. Why? Because the Israelites rebelled against the Spirit of God. Finally, when we look at Moses' spring, Psalm 95:8 is a wonderful remembrance. Reminder, do not harden your hearts as you did at Meribah, as you did at Massah, as you did at the day of Massah in the wilderness. I hope and pray that you have been blessed by our study of Moses' spring. The place is Meribah and Massah. God bless you till we meet again.